Hello and welcome to this Equis Ambar video on this overflow channel called Anti-War. I'm drinking Equis Ambar. It's 4.7% alcohol. It's 22 international bitterness units. It's a Vienna lager. It was introduced in 1897. It is brewed in Mexico by Heineken, Mexico, formerly Moctezuma. It has a best buy date of February 2019. Been watching those Brett Kavanaugh hearings since 9:30 this morning, Central Time. Goes on for hours. So be curious to see what you think about it. Very interesting. I watched the lady talk. I can't remember her name. Doctor of psychology, I believe. PhD, not an MD. And she gave very interesting testimony about he tried to attack her, tried to rape her, whatever, in 1982, somewhere, at some place, with some people at some time, with no specifics. And then, of course, the Democrats say, oh, it's actually the truth because she said it and we don't like the guy, so it's the truth. And then, of course, the Republicans say it probably, they're trying to be politically correct. It probably happened, but not to this guy. And then I watched Judge Kavanaugh's testimony. It was very interesting. So he was being a little bit evasive. She was being evasive. Like they asked her, who's paying for all this stuff? Oh, just some people. Oh, I don't know. Well, we all know who's paying for it. The international left. And then he was evasive about some things. So I told the people on Beer Talk 2018 on Facebook, I said, we could play a new drinking game. And they said, what's that drinking game called? I said, it's called Who's the Liar? Who's the Liar? So cheers to the new drinking game, Who's the Liar? This beer is a Vienna lager. Vienna, the capital of the Habsburg Empire of Austria. After 1867, the Empire of Austria and Hungary, Austrian Empire and the Kingdom of Hungary, after the Hungarians had an uprising and wanted independence, so the Austrians said, you can have independence and you can have your own empire within the empire and rule your own territories in the east, which they were very favorable towards. So the Hungarians went from being anti-imperialist, saying you should not be able to rule over us, we want freedom. And once they had their own empire, we should be able to rule over these people. And we should have the great Hungary. Kingdom of Ungarn, Hungary, in the capital of Buda and Pest, on either side of the Danube, the Blue Danube. The capital of Austria, Vienna, an old Roman city of the old Roman Empire of the ancient world. And so they developed this lighter-bodied, copper to brown lager. And then when Austria, in conjunction with Imperial France, the Empire of Austria, the Habsburgs, in collusion with the French Second Empire of Napoleon Bonaparte III, Louis Napoleon. So Louis Napoleon was in cahoots with the Austrian Habsburgs, and they decided to attack Mexico under a pretext of not paying back loans that were made to Mexico, which, that's, why would you make loans to Mexico? You thought they were going to pay them back? Why would you think that? Why did you think you were going to get the note paid? You just gave them the loans because you wanted to have a pretext to invade, like the British with Egypt. But, I mean, you should pay back your loans. I'm not defending being a what you call it, whatever that's called. There's a word for that. You don't pay back your loans. A bad loan Taker outer. Oh, so France invaded Mexico in 1862. Who do you think's going to win, France or Mexico? You know who won. Why didn't the United States intervene? The United States was too busy trying to invade the southern states and attack them for having the nerve to want to have independence. See, because you can have independence unless you're trying to have independence from a country that has independence. Some kind of little logical problem there. So they couldn't help Mexico fight off the French and Habsburgian army. And then the Habsburg had a candidate, Maximilian, who became the Emperor of Mexico. Well, you see, the United States of America conquered the southern states to prevent them from having independence, because whoever heard of a country trying to break away and have independence and declare independence? This is totally unacceptable unless you pay close attention to the events of July 4th every year. Now, so then the new Imperial District of Columbia, New York City dominated banking empire says to the Franco-Austrian government in Mexico, you must get out of there or we're coming at you. Well, France doesn't mind fighting Mexico, you know, but then when the United States, Uncle Sugar shows up, when Uncle Slugger says you better get out or else, France said whoops, and they pull all their troops out. And Maximilian should have gotten out while the getting was good, but he was like the president of Bafudiswana in 1994. He said, I am the emperor. And then he lost and he was arrested and shot, murdered, shot, whatever you want to call it, depends on your political viewpoint. So that was that, 1867, the end of that project. But many of the Austrians stayed in Estados Unidos Mexicanos, and they brought their beer making skills. And one of the top new ideas in Mexico was to make Vienna lagers from Vienna, Austria, Vienna. And they didn't shoot all the Austrians there. They just shot the one who was trying to be the ruler. Okay, Maximilian. Now, and so this became a popular style. Victoria, the oldest Mexican beer brand, isn't that from 1867 or is it 69? Something in the 1860s. And then about 30 years later, George Haas, H-A-A-S, Haas, developed 20 beer, 2 X's, 20, 10, and 10 is 20. But everybody said, what's the 2 X's beer? They say, no, it's 20. The 20th century is soon to arrive, January 1st, 2001. But then the customer said, I want the 2 X's beer, 2 X's beer, dos Equis, 2 X's. Finally, the company said, Cuauhtémoc Moctezuma, they throw in the towel. Oh, just let them call it 2 X's. And then in 1983, they used to say 84, but they corrected their history. 83, they introduced the Dos Equis Lager Especial, the special lager, to compete with like Corona Extra, you know. So that became the premier Dos Equis, the Lager Especial. But this is the original, the brown, the copper beer. And in my booklet, it's the better one. You say, what about the Roja? Yeah, Roja, the red one. I like it, but you don't see it too much. They make it, it comes around from time to time. And there is the Blanco, the white boy. You know it's a wheat beer. I've had it. Oh, it's okay if you like wheat beers. Most wheat beers are just kind of like okay, in my opinion. But it's not bad. No, hardly bad. And I would recommend it. It's got that blue label, like wheat beers tend to have a lot of times. Now, Vienna, Austrians, you know, they were always considered Germans. Not really like a separate country, but a German country up until 1945. Well, you see, well, they had a lot of bad things that went on. And the 12 years previous to 1945. So then Austria, the Austrian Germans, wanted to distance themselves from that. So then they say, well, we're not German, we're Austrian, we're a separate people. Okay, the United Nations and the world say, all right, fine. And even Barack Hussein Obama, when he went to Austria as president, he said, I don't know how to speak Austrian, and everybody laughed. We don't speak a different language. We speak the German language, the Deutsche language. So he didn't know Deutsches language, the German language. So, but anyway, Vienna has been the capital of Austria since the days that they had the Eastern Reich, the Eastern Empire nation, Austria. That's what it means, Österreich, the Eastern Empire nation. And it was part of the first German Empire, the Holy Roman, the Heiliges Römische Reich, the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation. And they were considered a German people, a German ethnic group, all the different German states. But then that was destroyed in 1806. They dissolved the empire because they thought Napoleon I, Bonaparte, was going to try to seize the country. Well, he did seize it, but he was going to try to make himself the Holy Roman Emperor. So they say, oh no, they reformulated as the Austrian Empire, which concerned the Austrian territories. Then after the war, Napoleon was defeated in 1815. The European countries decided to recreate it, but not as the empire, which was sort of seen as sort of like played out. You know what I mean? Finished. So they created the German Confederation, a union of eventually 39 German states. So 39 German states, the German Confederation, which did actually have its own parliament, the Diet, that would meet in various parts of the country, and their own army. But it was sort of like a union of states, not a federation, but more like a confederation. That's why they call it the German Confederation. And Austria is one of the 39 states. And so was Luxembourg. So, you know, Luxembourg was part of Germany. And so was Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein is the only country that was part of the Holy Roman Empire, the German Confederation, the Second Reich. That's the German, not the Second Reich. They didn't want to join the Second Reich. They said, no, we'll just be an independent little country. But they're the only country still around, and they weren't part of the Third Reich. The Germans did not invade Liechtenstein, which is a German country. They speak German. They just say, oh, well, let them go. So Liechtenstein is a German country. It's one of the German states. Austria, Germany today, and Liechtenstein and Luxembourg. Okay, get it? You got it? Germany is not the only German country. Germany is not the only German country. All right, just like England is not the only English country. Okay, let's learn some geography while drinking beer. Well, Belgium was part of the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation up until the French Revolution. They did not want to join the new confederation, but the Dutch territory, or I should say the Dutch didn't want to join because Belgium was part of the Netherlands until 1830, but the Dutch did not want to join. But the Luxembourg, the clearly German part of the country, was part of the confederation. You can read about that, Luxembourg. Luxembourg was part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands until the 1890s. You didn't know that. Luxembourg was not a totally independent country until the 1890s. I bet you didn't know that. Well, Austria, when they finally broke off from Germany in 1945, because Austria was part of Germany up until even where am I? Up until even 73 years ago, they decided to differentiate themselves. So Austria, yes, that's true, was part of Germany until only 73 years ago. Okay, well, anyway, The news may be starting, but I bet the Brett Kavanaugh is still going on and everybody's screaming at each other. We'll get off of this. Do I recommend this beer? As Jackie Gleason might say, ooh, how sweet it is. But I don't think it was beer in that mug in Miami Beach.